So you say Papaji, a true Sadguru.
Yes.
How can I recognize the difference between a phony one and the real thing? Between Pepsi and Coca-Cola?
Well, Papaji was once asked, why are there so many false teachers? And he said, because there are so many false seekers and everybody needs a guru. So you only know from your own heart, you can't know from your mind. So when something happens and your mind stops and you know you're in the presence of something beyond what you've ever known before, you stop.
Yeah.
And then you discover, you realize.
You check it out. I mean, Papaji used to say, check it out, investigate. But first it has to be a matter of the heart. Otherwise it's just conceptual.
So it's no search for more intelligence about the subject, or...
Actually, the guru is the embodiment of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
True wisdom. And when your mind stops, you realize where intelligence is. You realize the source of intelligence. And then everything flows from that. So you can't check your mind to say, is this right, or should I, or shouldn't I? That conversation's long gone.
So it's immediate recognition of trueness, no falseness. Or
yes, it was for me.
Yeah. And so like some people are called guru hoppers, who go from one guru to the other. You say that's fine until if you meet the right one, you start hopping around. Or
yeah. Well, I think that you have to search until you find the right one. But if it then gets uncomfortable, which it can get quite uncomfortable, and you just escape that and begin hopping again, then that's spiritual promiscuity, and it's finally hollow, and you lose an opportunity for the deepest commitment of a lifetime.
I had many teachers along the way, beautiful teachers, gurus, a Taoist master, Buddhists, and I was with them, but they didn't bring me to the end. They didn't bring me to a silent mind. Moments my mind would become silent, but it never lasted. And so I was looking for the true teacher that can cut the egoic mind. Because when we were working together, before we met our teacher, or when I was training therapists or working in therapy, there would be moments when the mind would stop. You walk into a room, we walk in to lead a group, your mind stops quite naturally, because it's not about me, it's about what's showing up here. Therapy, same thing. It's not about me and my story, it's about you. So the mind stops. But then as soon as we would leave the room, we'd pick up our shoes and our stories and we'd start our same old again. And so that's what we wanted, was something that could cut that level of the egoic mind.
So should you get rid of the old shoes and jacket, throw them away, or keep them for rainy days, or...
You throw everything away from you lose everything. And discover what cannot be lost. And then, even if you're wearing old shoes, they're enlivened by that. So old rolls can come in. Nothing has to change in form, and that's what shoes and rolls are. But the discovery of what is unchangeable overflows into everything, into every roll.
So the mind is not the enemy.
That's right.
How can there's no enemy? There is no enemy. There's only yourself here. It's all in how you relate with yourself. If you believe you are this mind and you follow your thoughts, you suffer. You miss. But in the moment that you stop, you're still here. Everything that's here is always here. No enemies. It's all mirrors. It's like a little parakeet that sees its reflection in the mirror and fights with it and pecks with it.
Yeah, that's a great translation. But could you say, like, if I put my attention out there, that's the fastest way to get out of the mind, or no?
Fastest way is to put your attention in here.
In here.
Yes.
But
to forget out there. Actually, out there doesn't exist. It's made up. We know that now from science, the way the mind creates a map of reality based on the light waves that hit the retina and the sound waves, but we're not actually seeing that, we're not actually hearing that, we're making a map of it. We're describing it to ourselves, we're talking to ourselves. So that's all the outside, and that's what we call reality. When you're willing to turn away from what you think is real, you find where reality is. And reality is turning away from everything you think is real to find what is real. And that's inside.
but can that reality be described? Can you give a description of that reality so we know for sure that, hey, I got the right reality?
Yeah, as soon as you know that, that's the wrong one.
Yeah?
If it can be described,
That's not it.
it's limited in some way. And so we fail at describing it. I remember once Papaji saying, yes, you have to speak this. And I said, but it can't be spoken. He said, that's right. It can't be spoken, and you have to speak it. So in that way, the mind is turned toward something that is bigger than it. And that to me is the result of great art and music and just surrendering the mind to something bigger, but never assuming that you've actually finished the conversation or made the description.
It's like a fish that suddenly wakes up and realizes I'm in the ocean and tries to carry the ocean home with it.
That's a big job to do, yeah. But I haven't heard you use the word love. The four-letter word everybody is what I see here. Is love something that comes with it, or is love the ultimate, or?
Love is the ground of being.
Love is life.
So life and love are the same.
Yes.
Yes.
In Satchidananda, it's a Sanskrit phrase, to me, says what can't be said. And that's consciousness awake to itself as being, and then overflowing in the love of that, the ananda of that. It's a natural state.
That's the definition of self in Sanskrit, Satchidananda.
So Sat is true?
Sat is actually being.
Being.
Being. Chit is empty intelligence. Empty intelligence. Ananda is the bliss of love. It gets translated as bliss, but that's really not right. You know, bliss is
Joy,
it's
I would
the
say.
overflowing of love itself.
Yes.
But you could say life can be nasty sometimes.
Yes.
People get murdered, people get hurt, animals eating animals, people shooting people.
Life is suffering.
Those are the life events. And those, as we were saying earlier, they are horrible events that happen in life, and they're blissful, beautiful, sublime events. But the source of all events is the Satchidananda, and that's the mystery.
The embracing love that also.
Not just embracing love, it's the love that is the source for killing and mayhem and madness. It's the source of all form. So all form is informed by it.
All form is informed by it.
Yes.
It's such a mystery, because I never would want to trivialize killing and say, oh, it's all perfect, or it doesn't really happen. There are horrific things that are beyond our capacity to comprehend, and yet in our willingness to directly experience what is at the source, we find this life that is love and aware of itself.
And then that gets put into the service of the end of suffering. So that, yes, there's suffering in the world, there's pain in the world, and that can stop at least where you are. You stop and there's one less spot of suffering on Mother Earth. Then there's one more potential, there's one more light, there's one more shining, and that's what gets passed on. That's how this will change the world.
Spacious mind.
Spacious mind, heart to heart.
So, does it ever bore you talking about this subject? No?
What could be better?
It's beautiful. Although I wouldn't say we talk about the subject so much. We have interviews and we have meetings, but when we're just together, it's the unspoken reality.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first got together and we just discovered Papaji, or even earlier than that when we were discovering Buddhism or Taoism, we talked about it a lot because it was so new and so radical and such a shift for the mind. And that's a stage. But it's really living from it, and it is never boring. It's not always pleasant. It's not always anything, but it is never boring.
It's being yourself. So, to be yourself, without knowing what that's going to look like or how that's going to turn out, it's fresh. Boring is predictable. Boring is the idea of yourself. Boring is the idea of the world, the idea of what I should do, what I'm supposed to do, the burden of life. All of that is boring.
Or the hope that it'll be a good party.
Yeah, we talked earlier. So, but when you're fully being yourself,
First you have to know yourself.
I first have to know myself. And you don't refer to the mind-made self, the thing you think you are,
That's
the image you have of yourself.
That's beautiful. The image you have of yourself is like if you look in the mirror, and it looks like there's somebody in there. And they move, and they're alive, they smile, they talk. But if you try to make contact and try to actually get something alive in there, there's nothing in there.
No.
It's exactly what you're calling myself.
the image.
It's an image.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's empty. It's an illusion. And as long as we live in illusion, we're living in suffering. But when you know yourself, then you can be yourself.
You can discover the source of that illusion, the source of that image. Because it's not separate from the image or the illusion, but it is prior, before, and images change according to the mirror, but the source remains.
I once heard the comparison with like you're on a great holiday in a great island with beautiful weather, beautiful sea, and you're just sitting there watching the photos of the vacation and not enjoying the whole atmosphere, but just
People do that. People spend their whole vacation taking
just
photos.
taking pictures. Yeah.
I see that a lot.
But what is that? Is it like trying to capture?
Yes, I think
the
so.
mind is always trying to capture a better experience, a new experience, a different, a better, and then trying to store it so it'll make me happy. So I miss being happy in this moment because I'm too busy taking a picture that I will then show to somebody else to make me happy.
To prove that I was happy.
Yeah, with the Facebook generation, almost the most important thing on your vacation is
Your pictures.
the pictures you can put on the internet. So everybody puts a thumbs up and says, "Great."
You had a good vacation.
Yeah.
You had a good life.
Yeah, that's it.
But is that what we're trying to do to satisfy that image, or to reinforce that image, or to make that image happy, or what's the thing we're trying to do?
We start trying to do that. We believe we are the image, and if we can just perfect the image or the concept of who we are. But as we mature, we recognize that no matter how perfect it may seem in a moment of success or love, getting what is wanted, that's not lasting. And there's a deeper yearning that then comes forth for what is lasting, what is truth. And that to me is when one is ready to really grow up.
That's spiritual ripeness. Spiritual ripeness, when you're willing to put down your childhood toys. Because most people never grow up. Most are just big babies. Doing the same things that you did when you were a teenager, or trying to do better, it's all based on a past projected into a future, and that's egoic suffering. But it's not, like you said, the possibility to find the source, to find what's real. And that's the ripeness, is when you realize, I've done this so many times, it doesn't work, it doesn't last. You know? How many great dinners do you have to have? How many sunsets? How many vacations to realize this is a moment, it's going to end, and it's not going to bring me lasting
And
happiness.
you can be loving the moment, but you're not relying on the moment to deliver what that moment is already appearing in.
Because freedom is causeless. You can't make it, you can't create it, you can't co-create it, you can't project it, you can't visualize it.
You can't lose it.
You can't lose it, you can't forget it, you can't make it. It's causeless. And as causeless, that means there's no exterior cause that can make freedom or lose freedom. Freedom is prior to cause. And joy is prior to cause. Happiness comes and goes with the events. But the joy that's prior to it all, that's what is the good news for all of us.
It's who you are.